All right, we are recording. So
Oh,
welcome. Welcome to Typology Gifts. I'm Dan, and please tell the audience your name and maybe where are you from, by the way?
I'm Madhan and I'm from Chennai, a city in India.
Oh, very cool. All right, well, I'm near Chicago, so I'm practically on the other side of the world from you, I guess.
Yeah,
It's cool. Very cool to meet you and talk to you. And I don't.
I was already on your group, in your group once, like INFJ men. I was in that group, remember? Oh,
Oh,
you don't?
yeah. You mean on Discord?
We even talked about Doom music and NEDM.
Oh,
That's me.
wait, where was it again? You cut out there for just a second. Where was it that we talked?
INFJ men,
Oh,
male.
INFJ meant the Facebook group, right?
Yeah, but I quit the group because I thought I was not an INFJ. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's try to figure out.
you have no
Let's
idea
see if
what
we
I
can
am.
figure out what you are. I guess. All right. So what I tell everyone. Have you watched any of my videos typing people yet up to this point?
No, I've not had the time. I've been busy
Okay,
for a while.
that's
I
probably good.
wanted to, but I've been busy.
No, that's probably good because I
I
just
do know that you use the objective personality pictures like to type.
no, I used the 16 personalities ones. Uh,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
you mean the bubbles, the little bubbles
Yeah,
where
yeah, the bubbles. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's theirs or not, or if they made it or if someone else made it. I don't know. I'd have to look at is that where it came from? I don't know. Um,
Okay.
I have seen a bunch of different places have similar things, so I don't know. I'll have to see where it originally came from. But
It's
um,
good.
yeah, so all right, so I guess one thing I was gonna mention was unlike like a paid typing service, I'm not gonna tell you you are a that. What I will be more likely to do at the end is tell you what I think what my opinion of your type is, and then let's talk about other types that you've thought that you were, or what tests have shown you, and maybe we'll come to an agreement on what your type is, or maybe you'll have it narrowed down to two or something like that. But the point is, hopefully, by having another person give you their opinion on it, you'll have a second opinion that's kind of outside of your own head, and you'll have a video that you can watch if you want to think about it again. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
all right. So that's like more information, basically. And then the other thing I would say is just that it'll work best if we cooperate on it, essentially. So don't worry about telling me what you think I want to hear, or if you're not sure about how I'm using a certain word, feel free to ask or whatever. And my main goal is to um, channel things a certain way so that we get to a certain endpoint where we both have it kind of figured out. Um, so
Yeah.
it'll be a collaborative thing more than anything.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
All right, cool. Everything's good. You ready to go? Ready to get going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the first question, I have a completely different question than I normally ask, but I have some developing thoughts on this, which is so I'll just jump right into it. Would you say that you have where would you say your attention span is on the spectrum? Is it short attention span, long attention span, somewhere in the middle? How would you describe your attention span?
Short. Definitely short.
Short, very short.
Well, it's like I wouldn't say it's like ADHD kind of short, but yeah, if you like give me, well, when I was in school, if, like I would have trouble preparing for my exams, like by reading books, because then because I would like be stuck in my thoughts. My thoughts would override what I'm like reading in front of me. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time actually like studying everything in my book. I was performing.
Oh,
My attention span is bad. And when I was in a lecture, like school or college, I would very rarely actually be listening to the lecture and mostly be in my head.
okay. Um, what about when somebody is talking to you, do you find yourself able to have a high engagement into what they're saying, or do you feel like you if it's not something you're interested in, you will not want to talk to them, or you'll lose interest quickly or something like that?
I lose interest quickly. So I
Okay.
kind of start to feel detached from the conversation. Like I'm starting to analyze. I don't exactly ignore the other person. Like I am still listening to them, but kind of like in a passive way. Like kind of blurs out, but I am still listening to them.
Okay. Um, would you say that you are in in your own mind? Would you say that you spend time thinking about idealistic things, or where do you fit on that? Are you a very idealistic person as far as the things you're thinking about and the things you're working on, or are you somewhere in the middle, or are you just not at all? How would you describe your sense of
Uh,
idealism?
what exactly like do you mean by idealistic? Like, can you give me an example or an explanation?
Uh, sure. Well, I think when I think of what idealism is, I think what it is it's about having an idea of the way something should be, and then seeing that over what actually is, or seeing that as a very real thing in the same sense as what actually is. Um, Typically something better, you know. So that's how I would describe it, I guess.
Okay. When I'm having thoughts, like what's the opposite of idealism? Is it like very concrete?
Yeah, the opposite of idealism would probably be traditionalism, where you
Okay, if you
have a
put it
set.
that way, then yeah, definitely more towards idealism because I'm in no way traditional. So,
You're not a traditional person. So what do you mean by that? Why would you say you're not traditional?
because I'm not really interested in traditions, doing things the way they were. Like, okay, your grandfather did this, so you have to do this, or like,
Hmm.
uh, we're all from this country, so we're supposed to do this.
Sure, sure.
Things like that. Like, well, it's really like when people go through an elaborate traditional procedure, like for something, like for instance, what do you call it? Okay, like when there's a marriage going on, they do things that are like outdated, like
Hmm.
because like it used to be, but they do it regardless because it was done before. So I'm like, why are they even doing this anymore? It doesn't make sense. And
Hmm.
people are like, it's our tradition. We are supposed to do it. But I'm like,
Okay.
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 And
So would you identify as an individualist?
mm, individuals in the sense of what?
Like, some people are born leaders, some people are born followers, some people are individualists who neither lead nor follow, or just sort of go on their own direction, like lone wolves. So where would you say you fit in that whole social hierarchy most of the time?
Well, I would say I want to be a leader, strict kind of leader. Like I want to be a person who teaches people, leads people
Hmm.
to do the right thing. Like for instance, I'm like creating a group of people who are helping, and I'm like I'm going to lead them either
Sorry,
instead of.
it just cut out there for it just cut out for a second. What was it you said you want to lead people and do what?
Okay, like suppose I have a group that helps animals on the street,
Oh yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So in that case, I want to like be the leader who actually does things with them, but I'm teaching them how to do it,
Hmm.
teaching them to be compassionate, and giving them a voice, like something like that. So I do like being a leader, except if you want me to be a leader in like an IT firm, I might probably not be all that great because I wouldn't be very bossy. So people might take advantage of me. I don't know.
Okay, okay. So you don't normally tell people what to do as much as you want to lead by example, that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I want to lead by example. I don't like telling people what to do.
Okay. Got it.
You should, like, you can. That's more me.
Sure, sure. Um, would you say that you have um, let's see here. Some people are let me think of a way to say this. Um, would you say that you're more in tune with your feelings or the feelings of other people? So what I mean by that is it harder for you to figure out what you're feeling or to figure out what other people are feeling? Or do you know when you're in a room with people, do you know the temperature of the room, like the emotional temperature of the room? And if you're feeling something, do you know your emotional temperature? Which one of those do you feel more, or do you know is happening faster?
Of course, I know what I'm feeling faster than, like, I am actually in tune with. I know exactly, like, I'm pretty good at figuring out what the temperature, like, feelings of the room are. Like, when there are a lot of people, I know if there is like tension going on between someone or if everyone is in harmony. Or
Mm-hmm.
I can figure that out pretty quick. But of course, I know how I feel clearly. So that's always a difficult question. Like, every, like, people talk about FI versus FE, right? So
Sure.
always something like I don't really know because I'm like in tune with both. So
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really.
yeah. Well, that's fine. I'll ask you other questions that will hopefully get around that topic sort of, and see if we can get closer to a possibility on that. So I'm assuming you have like studied a lot about like cognitive functions and things like that, and use that as you've been trying to figure out what type you are.
So you got cut out for a second. Can you repeat it?
So you've been studying things like cognitive functions to try to figure out what type you are. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've been doing it for a long time.
okay. I'm gonna try a couple of just like tests kind of on you, and just to see how you do on this. I'm going to give you three things, and I'd like you to tell me give me some thoughts about what they have in common. So the three things are steak, the moon, and trees. And if you could give me five things that those three things have in common as quickly as you can.
Steak, moon, and a tree. Well,
Yes.
that's difficult because I really don't. Well,
That's okay.
moon and a tree maybe, but steak, I don't know where that comes from. So
Yeah, that's the curveball, right?
yeah, exactly. So you could say like I don't know, steak, moon, and tree. I'm sorry, I don't really see the connection between any of
That's
them.
okay.
Like,
That's okay. That's part of it. So take as long as you feel like you need comfortably, and then if at a certain point you feel like you want to just give up on it, then that's okay too.
okay, like, let me try to take a minute and see if I can
Sure, sure,
talk with
sure.
it.
Yep.
Moon and tree. Steak, moon, tree. I'm sorry, I really don't see any connection. I give up.
Okay, that's totally fine. So next, would you possibly be able to give me five unconventional uses of rope? And that would like not be hanging yourself or like playing playing tug of war or something like that. Like come up with five like unique uses for rope.
For the object rope or for the word rope?
For the object rope.
Okay, so unconventional uses. Okay, so conventional uses. I suppose you want unconventional, so like something that's not usually you done, right?
Right.
I think. Sure. Conventional. I suppose you could use it to grow climber plants, like plants that don't have a stem, like they kind of grow like this.
Mm-hmm.
They stick onto objects. I suppose you could use a rope to help those plants grow.
Okay, that's one.
Okay, so, and you could use it as a barrier, like, for instance, like, if there is like uh, an important work, like, let's say there's a walk path, and there's like some kind of renovation going on the floor there. So you could use a rope to prevent people from walking on it by mistake.
Okay, that's two.
I don't know if this factors into your question, but like there is something called a rope dart. Like,
What's it called?
okay, you know what? No, never mind. Just forget it.
Okay.
It's like part of a game. In
I see.
Assassin's Creed, there is something called a rope dart. So,
Okay, that's fine.
No,
We don't have to go any further on it. Let me ask you this question. How heavily do you rely on your experience to get you through life? I'm just talking about like things you've been through.
I actually do, to an extent. Like, something bad happens, I learn to not do it again.
Sure.
But that's more in relation to people rather than processes. For instance, like when I built this PC, right? So it was like I've already built PCs before and they have not gone well. So I should have learned not to do it, right? So not to do it myself and call an expert, right? But I did it myself anyway because I just wanted to get it done.
Sorry, you just cut out there for a second. What was that last part?
Okay, so like I've tried building PCs before and they have not gone well. So I could have broken stuff and all. So I should have known from past experience that I should probably call an expert for that, for building my computer. But I didn't do it. I wanted to see the result immediately for myself. I was excited. So I started building the parts myself and I got something very important, but like a small part. It's not very important, but I could have been less lucky and broken something more important. That could have like cost me a lot of money. So I didn't learn from that. So I don't know. But in relation to people, it's like, okay, like I ask a girl out once and she refuses. I'm like, okay, that means no girl is gonna like accept going out with me. So I'm not supposed to ask out a girl again. And since then I've never asked anyone out.
Okay.
Last time I asked someone out was when I was 14. Now I'm 23 and I've never asked anyone out.
Do you feel like that's coming from a place of your emotions, or that's just your logic about what's happening?
Bit of both, actually. Like, you could say emotion because like I didn't like being rejected. I took that very hard. So also logically, I'm thinking like, okay, no girl would actually want to go out with me because I don't know, like
Well, that's,
I don't really talk the same topics that most people talk.
I
So
mean, just so
I'm
you,
always talking about something big.
I mean,
So
just so you know, that's a narrative. You know, like we all create narratives for ourselves. You know, like you know, you wake up in the morning and you have all these stories in your head of all the things like you've got this story that you tell yourself now. I haven't asked a girl out for 8 years or something like that. As if the number of years matters right now. It doesn't. It's just a number you've told yourself and you've given it some significance. But the reality is, if you changed your mind right now, it wouldn't matter how many years it had been. You could just go and do it. So just be aware of the narrative that you're telling yourself and how much impact it has on the limitations you've set upon yourself. You know, don't convince yourself of something that may not be true, is what I'm saying.
but it could be true. So that's
No,
my
I mean
problem.
it's only true if you let it be true, I guess.
I suppose.
If you let it be true, then yeah, it will be true. But if you decide to stop letting it be true, then it won't be true anymore. So it only stays true as long as you let it be true. But anyways, we've kind of derailed a little bit. So I can see why you would be confused, and it's somewhat tricky for me to ask questions because I know you've researched a lot of things. So I'm going to try to continue, see what I can come up with.
I'll be answering as truthfully as I can, like without
Yeah,
worrying,
yeah.
like falling into that type or this type. I mean, I don't care if I'm a high SI user. Like as long as it's true, I'm fine.
Right. So, and I don't know if you are yet. I'm just trying to ask my way around a few different. I haven't actually eliminated any types yet.
Oh,
I guess actually I could probably. There's actually a couple that I could probably eliminate. Let me just do that right now.
so what would you eliminate?
Well, you're gonna have to watch the video afterwards and see what I eliminated.
Oh, it's because that board thing, it's not
Yeah,
visible.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Um, okay. I'm not nearly as far along as I normally am at this time.
Oh,
So whatever that tells you, it either means I'm losing my touch or you're a tough case. So anyways, let's continue.
like I suppose I am kind of tough because I relate to like both the I
Sure.
function and the E function of everything. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. But you know, you might be ambidextrous in a sense, but maybe we can find a slight preference one way or the other in some ways. So,
okay.
um, so let me ask. I hear the birds over there. Um,
Yeah.
do you think that how quickly do you feel like you trust other people's like experts, or do you like if the expert says XYZ, do you just trust it, or do you want to
Sorry. Can you repeat it again?
um, whenever an expert says XYZ, do you find it easy to trust that, or do you want to go research it on your own? In other words, are you more of like, do you cherry pick information, or do you just accept if the experts say it, then that's reliable?
Mostly, I kind of like do my own research on it. I pick information rather than just trusting someone blindly because like, if that was the case, then I would be going around calling myself XXXX type because the first person who told me that must
Sure.
be true. But I'm not doing that. Also, like, um, I'm like getting music, like singing training, being trained in singing, right? So I've already jumped across like 3 or 4 teachers because our teacher is saying, because there is a lot of inconsistencies in what they are saying. So I'm like, okay, this person isn't really like that much of an expert. So I jump to the other person. I'm looking for an expert, but when I look at a person, I'm thinking, okay, they are not an expert. Like I kind of make that judgment myself.
And how do you decide whether someone's an expert or not?
Because they kind of contradict themselves sometimes, or if they're not able to bring results. Like, for instance, one of my teachers in the beginning told me, like, uh, if you want to sing high, just shout and you'll be able to go high. But that's really not how you're supposed to do it, because every singing teacher says otherwise. And just shouting to sing high notes is going to like definitely damage. That's definitely not something you should be doing. So if a teacher says that, I'm not going to believe it, obviously, and I'm going to ditch them because they don't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
Or if a person tells me like, I'm like, he could say like, there was one person who told me I'm INTJ because like I'm always looking for another person to tell me what type I am. So I'm TE, and I'm kind of dreaming, so I'm NI. I was like, I believe you. Even though they are supposedly an expert, so they call themselves. So.
Right. Okay. All right, that makes sense. So, let me ask you this question. People tend to spend a lot of time in their minds in different time periods, kind of like some people gravitate more towards their own experiences, and introverted sensing, you're aware of that kind of, and then some people are in the here and now a lot more, extroverted sensing, of course, and extrovert intuition, really, and then some people are way off in the future, which would be more introverted intuition. Actually, introverted sensing can as well, and extroverted intuition can as well. But where would you say that you fall on that spectrum, as far as like where you find when you're daydreaming, when you catch yourself, like where are you ending up there, or are you just in some fictional daydream? You know what I mean? Like, where would you say you kind of end up?
When I'm daydreaming, it's usually not several years into the future. Like, it might not be 50 years from now, but it would be more like 4 or 5 years from now.
Okay.
Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, how great it would be if I was doing this. Or it could be like 10 years later, where Elon Musk has built a base on Mars, and I'm somehow walking through the base. Like,
Okay.
I might be something like that. Yeah. It'll be in the future. Like, the past doesn't interest me daydreaming wise, because like past is done, forget it. Kind of like that. So
okay.
more in the future, but I wouldn't go unrealistically way 50 years into the future, because 50 years later I would be 70, and when I'm 70 I can't really do anything. So I'm also thinking of that kind of realistically.
You can use virtual reality.
Yeah. Virtual reality isn't real, so like I also want it to be real, kind of. See, that's the thing. Like, I'm dreaming, but also want it to be concrete. So
Sure.
Intuition of sensing, I'm not really sure. So
Yeah.
these
Okay.
are the things I have a problem with.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that. I can understand that.
So basically, when I'm dreaming, I dream, but also realistically dream, kind of. You could say that. If it has any realistic possibility, I'll dream of it. If there is no realistic possibility, like, I won't dream about being in the Andromeda galaxy in 10 years, because I know that's not going to happen.
I see.
I could dream about being in a planet in Andromeda galaxy, but I know I'm not going to do it because I know it's not going to happen. Kind of like that.
Sure. Would you say that you have a good sense of timing? Do you know?
Time
Do you know when the time is right to do something, or are you?
is right to do something. Uh, I suppose a little bit. I guess like when I just enrolled for a course in psychology because like I thought, okay, so this is the right time because I'm like working in an IT firm. My job is stable right now. I'm earning money, and so like when I and there is nothing in the near future that I'll have to like nothing else that I'll have to do. So if I enroll for a course in psychology now, it'll go smooth.
Sure, sure, sure.
Get the degree soon. So
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you prefer to make plans, or do you like to keep your options open in case something better is going to happen or a change or whatever?
okay, this answer might be kind of frustrating, but uh, I like to make plans where everything is open.
Okay, no, that's not frustrating at all. So, but let's say that
This is a problem I had. Like,
no, no, no,
okay, so
no, that's fine.
what I do know is,
Yeah.
that I need to make a decision beforehand. I don't like just like winging it. For instance, I have to make a plan,
Right.
but the plan can involve many different possibilities. For
Yeah.
instance,
But is it that you want to make sure that you've built the guardrails so that you can just improvise while you're in the plan, basically?
exactly,
Yes? Okay.
exactly, you got that right.
Okay. No, that's fine. So you're not preferring to entirely wing it. You would prefer to set the overall structure of the plan, but then have that way you can have the freedom to completely wing it without having to worry that you're going to go crazy like off the rails. Would that be a good explanation of it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Um, that that actually may narrow things down a little bit. What about physical activity, sports, doing things like that? Does that kind of stuff come naturally to you?
Uh, Not naturally. Like I used to be really interested in cricket. Cricket is a sport.
Yeah,
It's not played in America, but it's played in other countries, certain countries. So I
sure.
used to be really interested in cricket as a kid, but I was like terrible at it.
Uh-huh.
So I realized like there is no use spending time in this because I'm not getting better. I could have spent more time, but then there was school also, and I couldn't balance that, so I kind of dropped
Okay.
cricket. So
How good is your coordination? Are you clumsy? Do you have good coordination?
in sports, definitely I have a bad coordination because I was always like a laughing stock because
Okay.
I wouldn't really be a good coordinator. I wouldn't have good coordination, so people would generally like kind of laugh at me
Mm-hmm.
because others were actually better than me. But in other things, like I don't really drop stuff, for instance, all that much. I mean, in fact, I don't think I've ever dropped anything, probably like except once or twice. Even that when someone else bumped into me by mistake. Like I don't drop stuff. Uh, I don't bump into stuff all that much. So like
Mm-hmm.
probably a few times, but not many times.
Are you a very polite person in general?
I'm sorry, I got cut off.
Yeah. It was kind of cut off on my end too. Are you a very polite person in general?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very careful and polite.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
for sure. Um, and so despite not being a traditionalist, you are still conscious of socially acceptable behavior in a way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, got it. Um, so I'm gonna go refill my drink. I've kind of narrowed it down a bit more.
Uh,
We're closer. Um, so let's take a break now. We're at about the halfway point here. For those watching at home, see you in part B.
okay.